and welcome back to Let's Talk Music. I've been very fortunate with the kind of people I've met and interacted with in the music industry in the past few years. And my guest today can be best described as a very fun gold mine of information. Because it's not every day you get to meet someone who's dealt with Axl Rose, right? Or for that matter, worked with Pink Floyd's manager. So let me not hold back any further and let's get going. She has written one of the first and perhaps the only book dedicated to the Indian indie music industry, the Indie 101, The Ultimate Guide to the Independent Music Industry in India. She's the founder of Music Gets Me High, or MGMH, which offers courses tailor-made for the music industry. Again, a one-of-a-kind establishment, which I would want her to talk about over the course of today's episode. She's appeared on a number of TEDx talks and also works in the mental health space. Her work experience in artist management and events over the last 2 decades involves some incredibly cool and prestigious names, including being the artist head at the Sula Fest and handling live concerts and production in India, New York, and London for artists like Guns N' Roses, Parostellar, Jungle, Amit Trivedi, and so many more. And her latest achievement has been with the entry of CD Baby in India, with her being appointed as the country head for the company. I could go on, but then I run out of time. So my guest for today, Ritnika Nayan, thank you so much for taking time out to chat with me and welcome to Let's Talk Music.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Okay, so how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty okay. It's a good evening.
And how have you been keeping busy during the lockdown?
I've actually had a lot of work, especially
great.
with CD Baby, because we're a digital company. So because artists can't really tour right now, they're focusing on releasing music. So I've actually been very busy the last 3 months.
I think everyone's counting on digital streams and making money via all the streaming platforms. So that's something I would definitely want to discuss that in a little more detail. But I want to know more about your journey in the music industry so far, and how you came about with the book and with MGMH. So just tell us a little about that.
So, I mean, like my journey pretty much started like anybody else's. I used to, be a musician growing up. I used to play the piano, and then I was a drummer in my school band.
Oh, wow.
So I was always into music, and I basically I used to also do musical theater. So I used to do a lot of shows in Kamani Auditorium in Delhi and things like that.
Nice.
And I basically went to study television and film production in New York for my undergrad.
Okay.
And the idea was that theater had no money, so I'm going to get into film and TV, typical Indian form of thinking, but still doing something, not the typical things back in the day. This was in 2001.
Right.
And while I was there, because I was always into music, I joined something called Hofstra Concerts. My university was Hofstra University.
Okay.
And it was basically a concert organizing committee in college. So sort of like your cultural society that you have.
Right.
Yeah. And the first year I was just one of the members. And then, you can run for an editorial board where you're handling more responsibilities. So basically I got that position, and after that for 3 years I was the ticket chair. So I was pretty much involved in the core group for the entire time I was there.
Nice.
The first concert we organized that I was a part of was the Counting Crows.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So that was the first time I organized concerts, and to me that completely changed everything for me.
I know, I'm sure.
Because
what an experience. Yeah,
it was crazy, because before that, of course, I've you've been to some concerts, but it isn't like seeing from behind the scenes what it's like. And we had to do everything ourselves, from figuring out which artists to book, to marketing, to ticketing, to everything. And after that, over the next 4 years, we worked with bands like Maroon 5, Nickelback, and so on.
Nice.
And it kind of changed my world. So even though I was studying film, and I even interned at MTV in New York, I in every summer I would come back to India and I would work in film and everything. But I was always into music. That never left me.
That's great.
And then when I eventually graduated and came back to India, I started working in film, and I realized I hated it. because I don't even watch Bollywood movies.
Oh,
So I'm kind of like, I did a very stupid move, and I always tell people that look, it doesn't matter what you studied, you can always change your career.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, because I started working, I did an ITV film, I did a Bollywood film, but I just wasn't into it because I don't enjoy Hindi, television. I don't enjoy Hindi movies.
What a conflict of interest.
I know I'm such a moron.
So sad.
And I really missed music. So
Yeah.
I basically did a project with a company where they had Jal's first concert in India.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a private concert for the Indian cricket team. So it was
Oh,
basically a cricketing company that kind of did it. And I was hired, I was hired just to handle that project.
Oh, nice.
And when I did that, I was like, you know what? I miss music. This is all I love to do. So I tried to find a master's course. So I found a master's in music business in London. I applied, I got in, convinced my parents I wanted to go do that. Where while I was there, I was working part-time and with a company. So I was organizing concerts in various venues across London, like the Troubadour, 100 Club, doing regular booking. I also got an internship with Peter Jenner, who was Pink Floyd's original manager.
Whoa,
While I
nice.
was there. Yeah, so that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And then I moved back to India and I realized I was way too overqualified and
I
nobody would
know.
hire me.
I was just thinking the same.
So yeah, I even remember like writing to OML because at that time it was just Vijay and Bobby and I didn't know them, but I wrote to them saying that, hey, I want a job. And they're like, dude, you're way too overqualified. So I just started my own company, Music Gets Me High. And the first artist I signed was Jalebi Cartel because Ashwin from Jalebi was an old friend. And I kind of spoke to them about my vision. And that's pretty much how MGMA started, and then it evolved into all the various things I've done through that.
That's so cool. So what about when did the move to Sula and how did that happen?
So basically, as a company, my company has been focusing on artist management for 10 years. So 10 years, it was focused on artist management and bookings. We also started a rehearsal studio in Delhi called Sound Station, which is still functioning. And under the company, besides artist management and booking, I was also organizing concerts, with venues and things like that.
Yeah, like a concert director.
Like booking agent. Yeah. And, and also I kind of was consulting. Festival. So whether it was my entire team I would get hired to run a festival or it would just be or whatever. So the last 13 years we've been involved in Zero Festival.
Okay.
We've been involved in East Wind Festival. We've been involved in, I forget the name, but it was the one that the electronic music conference that RSJ did. So I was running a couple of stages for them. Then Guns N' Roses India tour that I was basically consulting for them as an artist relations person for the company that did it. So my job was basically handling everything for the band and touring with them and being their tour manager. Yeah.
So cool.
So it was basically everything under the same MGMH umbrella. So we've always been doing that. It just depends on different things. I basically knew Jahan who is a music curator for Sula Fest. And he was part of Blue Frog earlier. So I know him from before and we started talking. And what they do is they actually hire a couple of people for during the festival to handle the artists. So I kind of, spoke to him and he agreed to take me and a couple of my MGMH guys to handle on-ground stuff.
Okay.
So just get hired the week before and, helps run the festival. I did that for about 3 years till I guess Jahan and I really got along and he liked the way I work. So he basically pulled me up to handling being the head of artist management and coordination. So I basically work with him. He curates and I do all the coordination.
But that must be such an incredibly interesting job because you're dealing with all the kind of artists that they've fefeatured at Sula Fest has been.
I mean, Sula Fest to me is one of the best festivals in the country, and I don't mean to be biased about it.
I kind of agree because I've always wanted to go, but something or the other has happened every year. and it's either been work or I've fallen sick or I'm going for some other function. So I've just been like, okay, yeah, maybe next year, but now I don't know when that's going to happen.
Well, whenever it happens next, now you just have to give me a call and we'll make sure you have a good time.
Yes, I'm going to, leverage my network now.
That's it. My brother always says your network is your net
Net
worth.
worth.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there you go.
I know. And so, how did what inspired you to write the book? Because
So
that's
I
something
mean,
which we definitely need. And
yeah. So
more people need to be reading it.
so the thing is, it's always been education in the back of my mind has always been important because I'm one of the few people who actually have a degree in music business in the country.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was early, I was trying to set up, a version of my course in India, and none of that worked out. So I kind of just started writing down answers to the same questions that artists would keep asking me.
Yeah.
Because I was doing bookings and artist management, I deal with a lot of independent artists. So they all ask me the same questions over and over again. So I was like, okay, there needs to be a place where this can be answered according to the Indian standards, because there are lots of books that talk about the situation, but they don't work in India. Whatever I learned abroad, I had to relearn how it works in India.
Yeah, completely different context.
So I started jotting down my notes, and then it basically ended up becoming a book. But then I went into this whole self-depression thing where I was like, who the hell is going to want to hear what I have to say, and who do I think I am to release a book? So even though I finished the book, I interviewed a couple of people in the industry because I wanted everyone to be a part of it. The book was sitting on my computer for 2 years before I actually had the courage to kind of do something about it. Yeah. And then I spoke to publishers and they just weren't interested. So I'm like, then, again, that whole depression comes in.
Yeah.
You're a loser. What are you doing? And then it was like, okay, Ritnika, why did you write this book? And I'm like, I wrote it because I wanted people to know the information, because I wanted to help people. So I'm like, if that's all you want, doesn't matter who publishes it, how it's done, as long as people get it.
Yeah.
So when my company turned 10, which is 3 years ago, I took my TDS return from my company. I printed, I think, 1,000 copies or something like that on my own.
Yeah.
I gave about 200 to all the artists that I ever worked with as a thank you for being a part of MGMH, and here's a gift for you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And everything else I put up on Amazon, and touch wood, I'm in my second print now. So the copy is in my second print. So whatever I earned from that, I just put it back into printing more copies and putting it on Amazon.
And you have the Kindle version too, right?
Yes, and the Kindle version, and even the music business course started off from there, because it was like, nobody then I was like, okay, now I've written a book, but people don't like always reading a book. So then it was like, okay, now what's next? How else can I add value to our music industry? And it was like, okay, I could start teaching. And then I met up with Sri Aurobindo Center guys who were amazing. I love their vibe, and I love how they're open they are to everything. And we formed a partnership, and last year I did 2 batches of music business, and this year we're doing a digital one because hey, COVID.
I know, but seriously, I think what you're doing is it's a niche activity, but that's something which we definitely need, and it's encouraging a whole new generation of people to take up this as an a valid occupation, because music management and business management in the music industry is something which has been overlooked so far, and you don't have too many qualified people handling it. You just have people who have contacts, but that's not the only thing, right? There is a talent that you need to have to do all of it.
I think it's also just know-how. So how I structured the course was, it's applicable to musicians, of course, because they need to know the business, especially if they're getting into stuff. It's for people who want to work in the industry, whether it's as a manager, as a venue owner, as a label owner, as a booking agent, because we cover every aspect. I cover everything from management to how to make a business plan to how to even make a bloody invoice, Because these are things people don't know. And I do very real world assignments. So if you're an artist or an artist manager, every assignment can be on that artist. So when you graduate, you have a full business plan, a full portfolio, a full plan of action. for
Mm.
how to make your career, progress further. And
Yeah.
the last two batches, because it was in the normal pre-COVID world,
Mhm.
been able to give internship placements to our some of our students who are now working full time in music from
Mm.
everywhere. Somebody's working at True School of Music, someone's working at Believe Media. I
Mm.
mean, they're getting full time jobs from this course.
Mm. Mm.
And that's pretty much what we want. And we also have guest speakers that come in and talk to the students. So
Yeah.
first hand knowledge, it's not just about me, it's about the industry
Yeah.
sharing the
Yeah.
knowledge.
Yeah. I think, I mean, we're on the same page completely, because even when I started this podcast, it was just about me basically making notes and talking about it on whatever I knew about copyrights. But then I realized I needed to bring people from the industry, people who have been working in the industry for so many years and who know so much more about what I want to communicate. And I think it's great that what you're doing, like for example, your experience in artist management and handling publishing, and now with CD Baby, that's like it's like a gold mine of information right there. So
Thank you. In
I'm going to
fact,
tap
you
on
have,
that
in
right now.
fact, I'm going to just tell you right now, you have inspired me to maybe do a podcast. Hey,
Oh, yay! Awesome.
I just need to come up with a cool topic, I guess. I don't know.
You have so much to talk about. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
you
but I don't
can
want
just
to
say,
step on other people's toes. If you already do, other people are doing similar stuff. I don't want to do the same thing. I don't believe in just doing something because other people are doing it. You know what
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
I feel we should all give each other the space
Value
to
add, yeah.
shine. Yeah.
And so I'm just going to go back to what you were talking about, artist management. So what's your opinion on artist management in India, and what do you think needs to change? I know why you're laughing, but I'd like you to
Well,
elaborate.
the first thing that I would like to change is for people to know the bloody difference between artist managers
And
and
booking
booking
agent,
agents.
yeah. Yeah.
And I keep reiterating this over and over again, but we really need to, as a manager, if you call yourself a manager,
Mm.
you really need to understand what your role is. Your role is not just to get them gigs. That
Mm.
is not what a manager does.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I feel like there are lots of young people getting into the industry, which is great, because
Mm.
when I first started, I think I was probably the only
Only
female,
one, yeah, yeah,
yeah, like
for
at
sure.
the in the scene. I mean, there were other guys, but it was, I don't think I knew any other female managers back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy to see people coming up. But it's like, if your artist doesn't know what the business side of things are, and
Mm.
then you get a manager who also doesn't know, you're
Yeah.
giving 15% for no reason.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel like if you want to get into the industry, it doesn't mean come to my course. You can pick up a book, you can attend webinars, you can do whatever, but you need to
Educate yourself.
educate yourself. Yeah, you need to know what you're getting into, and that applies to any business, right? You
Yeah.
start something new. Like, I used to run a social media division as well under MGMH for because there was easy money back in the day.
Mhm.
And it was like, okay, before I do that, I need to learn how the hell social media works. Like how to make the most of it, how to be good at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the first thing. And I think if we have, there are a lot more managers, but whether there are a lot of good managers, that's who knows.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to elaborate or discuss that, because again, I think it's subjective also. It all
It's
depends on
very
what the
subjective.
artist wants as well.
Yeah, exactly. A manager
Yeah.
and artist relationship is like a marriage.
Yeah.
So I personally believe, for me, everything I do in my work, whether any kind of business, whether it's CD Baby, whether it's MGMH, whether it's teaching, whether it's whatever, for me, it's very personal. So for me, it's not like, oh, it's business and it's not personal. For me, it's very personal. So I go a lot on the kind of energy I get off people, the vibe I get from the situation. And if I don't get a good vibe, I don't work with that person. Simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, because at the end of the day, it's about dealing with the person, right? I mean, I know the
Exactly.
expression of the art form, like music is, at the end of the day, is so personal to the artist as well. So if you
Exactly.
don't get the right vibe with your manager, I don't think that's because that person not going to represent you the right way.
Exactly.
So yeah, and so you've been back in India for a while now, right? Like at least the
Yeah, it's
last
been
10
13
years,
years.
13
Yeah.
years. So what's been the change you've seen from the time you've come back to now?
Well, I mean, the industry has grown a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand we're nowhere close to the West, but if you look at, I think the first multi-stage independent music festival was East Wind. And I think that was what, 2007, 2008. I mean, I know, it didn't it had money issues and everything at the end because the sponsors pulled out, whatever the case may be.
Mm.
But that changed things for India,
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's so much opportunities now for artists. I mean, now if you wake up one day, you tell your mom that, hey, I want to be a DJ, they're not going to be
Going to
that
react.
like, I'm not saying they'll be jumping for joy. I'm not, we still haven't got that part down yet. But they're not going to be like, they've gone crazy, pagal ho gaye, like anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's now becoming more acceptable to get into an artistic field, and there are more people coming up who are doing amazing things. I mean, there's so many cool companies coming up, but I've also seen a lot of people start companies and shut it down in a year or two.
Yeah.
And a lot of one-time festivals and things like that. And I always tell people, I mean, look, it's not about getting fast results. It's about sustaining yourself for years,
And patience.
And evolving.
Yeah.
Like as MGMH, we've been around for 13 years and we will always be there, even if I'm CD Baby or not. You know what I mean? It's because we evolve with time. If for me, artist management just wasn't giving me the satisfaction I wanted, So after 10 years of artist management, I stopped that part. It was literally breaking up with my artists because I had artists on my roster. But I was just like, guys, I'm not happy. And if I'm not happy, I'm not doing a good service to you.
Yeah.
So it's about evolving and changing and doing what you need to do to survive,
Yeah. That's true.
And I feel a lot of people are going to have to figure that out with the COVID situation,
Yeah, for sure.
People whose main income is from live shows.
Yeah. I think, and that's where I think streaming is, now looking to be a great revenue source. And how do you think, so like a platform like CD Baby, now since you have a dedicated India presence, what does a record label have to do to stay relevant? Like, like with players like CD Baby enabling streaming, like a DIY for musicians, and given the importance of streaming, how do you think these two tie up?
So first thing about CD Baby is it is actually owned by Downtown Music and Downtown Holdings, basically. And they own not just CD Baby, but AdRev, which is for YouTube monetization, MCA and Content ID. They own Dashco, they own Fuga, they own Downtown Music Publishing. And I actually represent not just CD Baby, but CD Baby, AdRev, Fuga, all of these companies in India.
Yeah.
A Fuga or a Dashco is for labels. So if tomorrow there's a T-Series or a Tips or a Times Music, they distribute their music to platforms.
Okay.
So they go through a digital distributor that can handle the amount of catalog that they have. So they would go to a Fuga, they would go to a Dashco. And then for artists who are taking independent choices, who want to release themselves, they would go to a CD Baby because that's a self-serve. You make an account, upload your music, you don't need to deal with anybody,
I know, yeah.
So how can a label survive? I feel like they have to do more than just distribute.
Yeah.
It's no longer, okay, I will take your music out. Because that an artist can do themselves.
Correct.
It's about the extras. What more can you do? Can you go, I know advances and all are very, not always easy to get, especially nowadays. But can you help me with proper PR, like newspaper, magazines? Can you help me touring in a normal day and age? Can you help me with the music video? I mean, what extras? Can you help me collaborate with other bigger artists, which I may not be able to get access to? So I think even if you're an indie label, it has to be more than just, I will take your music out.
Yeah.
Unless you're a very lazy musician who really doesn't want to upload your own music, then sure, you can,
Yeah.
But you need to have more than just that.
So I know that CD Baby has publishing as well, but is that available in India right now? And
so Publishing Pro is not available in India at the moment. It is something that we're working on.
Okay.
So I'm hoping in the near future it will be available.
Okay.
Right now it isn't.
And so the thing is, I know for a fact that publishing in India is so confusing. It's just all over
It's
the place.
pretty much non-existent, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the only other person that I know of who's like actively into publishing is Atul.
Yep,
And
Atul's the only one.
yeah, and I want you to like tell me what you know about publishing and how do you think
I think we
it's
don't.
going to
I
change?
see the problem is publishing is all about songwriter income, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we have to look at India, and in India, independent musicians barely make what 5%, 3% of the music industry, right?
Yeah.
Majority of it is film music.
Mm.
In film music, the concept of songwriter doesn't really exist.
exist.
I know we have the new amendment to the copyright law, and we're trying, but law is one thing, and we know from India, law means very little.
Yeah.
Is the execution.
Industry practice, like overrides law, which is the stupidest thing I've heard.
And then there are artists who might want to enforce the law, but then they're scared because then they'll lose out, unless the industry as a whole decides we will all change it. It's not going to happen. And this has to be across the board, not just Bollywood, but all the regional film industry players, everybody. So the whole concept of songwriter income doesn't really exist. So the independent guys would do it, but they don't even make up 5%.
Make that much money.
Yeah. So from a industry point of view, they're not losing much money if it's only the independent guys who are saying, I want publishing rights.
Yeah.
Hold on to my publishing rights.
Yeah.
If the big guys are not doing it, and I understand this is not something what one guy can do. It has to happen together.
Yeah. So, but that comes back to my question in terms of, so that means a music director from the film industry can technically or does technically own publishing rights. They're just not aware of it. Is that
so? Technically, it all depends what the role of the music director is, right? The publishing goes to the lyricist and the songwriter.
Yeah. So if the music director is also the songwriter.
Yeah. So if he is the songwriter, then the new law says he can't give away those rights.
Exactly. So,
but firstly, half the time music directors are not the lyricists.
Correct.
They also hire people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they also technically half the time don't have the rights. It's the little guys who actually have the rights.
Yeah.
So,
for example, you have XYZ as the music director and you have ABC as a lyricist. And now say, for example, when you're uploading, so like when you check the credits of a song, you have it's written by the lyricist and the music director. Both their names are there, right? And you have performed by the singer. Produced by, sometimes is blank, and then you have the source, which is the label. I'm talking about the film music.
Yeah.
So the music director in that case technically is entitled to publishing rights, which is accumulated.
Yeah, if the music director has made the music part of it and the lyricist has done the lyric part of it, then they're co-owners. If he hasn't done the music part of it, the composition, then the person who's done that has rights.
Yeah.
But music directors, I don't know how many of them enforce it, or whether they feel they might lose out if they try to enforce it,
Exactly. So what I'm trying to understand is that I know for a fact that the label isn't really making any money out of it in terms of, even if you give the music director those rights, it's not like they're giving away anything, because that money doesn't go to them.
I think it's a mindset thing. Honestly, I don't know if, look, I'm not a label, so I can't answer for them.
Yeah.
But I think it's more about, there's so much in our country that can change.
Yeah.
Not because it's going to harm anybody. Like, why aren't we equal rights for women? Why aren't we allowing parties happening after 12 o'clock at night? You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to make that much of a difference to people, but we don't want to change. It's comfortable being in our old spot, I guess.
And I think the only way is to, but it has to begin somewhere, the change. I'm just hoping.
With the amendment to the copyright law, it was a first step. But now all the big guys, all the the Bollywood guys have to band together. They there need to be something where they all put their foot down and be like, no, this is the way it's going to happen, or none of us are going to work with you.
Yeah.
Then they have no choice, But they know if you say no, they'll go to somebody else.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with independent music scene. When I tell people, if it play with booking a gig, you need to take 50% advance,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Artists, mostly independent guys, don't do it. They're like, oh, if we ask for it, they'll say no, and if we insist, they'll say we'll go somewhere else.
Somewhere else, yeah.
Yes, I'm like, but then what's worse? The fact that you played a gig and didn't get paid, or didn't play that gig.
Yeah, exactly.
Then they're like, no, but then they would not work with us. I'm like, okay, but then if all the musicians decided to do it,
Yeah,
the venues have no choice.
Yeah.
It's like paying taxes. You have no choice.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like if you have to do it. It's one of those things. If everybody decides to enforce it, they have
Yeah.
no choice. Everybody has to do it.
Seriously. And it's just, and I think also the importance of copyright societies and getting the copyright societies to work better and be more
Yeah, I mean,
transparent in their transactions. It's just,
yeah.
IPRS, I think, is making an effort.
Yeah, I mean, now IPRS has finally revamped themselves, but till 2-3 years ago, they were in limbo,
Yeah.
And even now, they have revamped themselves, but when you've lost that credibility, it's going to take a little bit of time to kind of have people trust you again.
And then automatically you tend to compare the local copyright society with something like a BMI or a PRS.
Yeah.
And you see how organized they are and the kind of...
And to be honest, an artist can sign up with the PRS for music.
They can, yeah.
So why, or a song trust, which is what we're associated with. So why wouldn't you go there?
Yeah.
That if this was a bit at the same level, if we had some more Indianized personal something, then it would make sense. But if it's the same or worse, then why not go somewhere else?
So there is nothing like a song trust in India, right?
I think IPRS comes closest, I guess. I don't know.
IPRS is like a copyright society, like a BMI.
It's like the closest it would come. I don't think there's anything else similar.
Yeah. So it's such a shame though, because we have such a large market. There's so much opportunity here.
There's so much to do in India.
There's
honestly,
so much.
I feel like publishing, I'm not even that worried about, because I think we have bigger problems.
Yeah, that's for sure. I know.
In the music industry. So it's like, okay, artists are going to be like, screw publishing. There's a lot more you can be.
Yeah, give us our basic stuff first. We'll figure out everything
give us what we're owed at least.
Yeah.
Non-stop. I know now COVID is a good excuse to hold on payments, but there's so many people who are crying over payments always. That's one thing is so refreshing working with an American company, is like, I don't have to run after my payment.
Payments, I know. And do you think that the COVID situation has kind of boosted streaming, and you think that's going to pay out eventually for artists, especially indie artists?
Definitely. I feel like you have to, like a lot of artists, I get this a lot. A lot of artists say, oh, I've released my music. I'm like, oh, where is it? They're like YouTube and Facebook. I'm like, that's not releasing music. That's putting it up on social media, technically. So I think for a lot, I'm not saying all, but there are a lot of independent artists who think that if they've taken it out on social media, they've released it, And I think now they're realizing, okay, how else am I going to make money? Okay, how else? Forget money. How else am I going to let people remember me?
Yeah.
Eventually, gigs will come back. It may take a year, may take 2 years. But by then, will people still remember you? Especially if you're not a very big artist. So how do you remain in people's minds? Through releasing your music, so that you have some PR activity happening every month, because you're releasing a single every month. If you are doing live streaming, try to do paid live streaming, whatever, but at least be active, so people don't forget about you, because eventually I'm hoping and praying that we will bounce back,
Yeah.
So it's about also, and then why not take out your music, why wouldn't you want to? It's so easy now.
And exactly, that's why people like CD Baby, I mean, companies like CD Baby have just made it so much easier, right? It's just, there's a one-time fee and you upload your album and you're sorted, and everything, it goes to all the platforms. And it's just, do you have any suggestions on how best to use CD Baby and how better can they use it?
The good thing about CD Baby is, like, as we discussed, it's artists self-serve. So I think one of the things that most artists don't realize that they don't need to sell me their music.
Yeah.
I get a lot of people messaging me saying, "Hey, I want to talk to you about City Baby." I'm like, "Okay, what do you want to talk about?" And
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh, I want to send you my music. Check it out. See if you like it. Maybe we can work something out." And I'm like, "You don't need to
Need
do
to
all of
pitch
that."
that. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's music. First of all, I feel is very subjective. I hate critiquing music because
Yeah.
it's so subjective. I may like something which
Um,
you don't like,
I
and
know. Yeah.
everything. So I that would be the worst thing for me to ever do, you know.
Mm,
And then I tell them, okay, you just have to go there and make
mm.
upload, and they're like, okay, but then can you walk me through the process? And that's another thing I
Yeah.
tell them. It's like
It's so
everything
easy.
you need is in our support section.
Yeah.
What I love about CD Baby is that they have put so much of educational tools on their
Yeah.
website,
See.
plus with their DIY blogs, with their DIY podcasts, everything.
Mm, mm.
Everything you need to know is there, but you have to make the effort to at least
Prefer to
search.
do it.
You know,
I have gone through that website like from top to toe. I so much of the FAQs is like the kind of information that's in there. It's just like it's like doing a course in itself, just studying all of
exactly.
it.
I mean, the
So yeah,
first 2-3 weeks of me joining CD Baby, I just went through the support
yeah,
articles and just started reading
yeah,
because there's so much I also don't know. You know what I mean? And what
yeah,
we as a company like to do is we don't hold the artist's hand and tell
yeah,
them do this. We send you the link and be
yeah,
like, learn how to do it yourself.
yeah.
Because we don't want you to be dependent on other people.
Mm,
We need you as artists to take control of your lives.
yeah, yeah.
Why should you get, then if you're so dependent, eventually you can get screwed over.
Mm, mm, mm,
So the first thing is, yes, you don't need to sell yourself to me. You
mm,
just have to go to cdbaby.com, make an account, upload your music. And
mm,
the most important thing is plan in advance.
mm,
Everybody's like, oh, we want to take out the music right away, you
mm,
know?
mm.
And before COVID, you could take your music out in a week, 2 weeks, even.
Yeah,
But now, with the amount of music coming out globally,
yeah.
plan at least a month in advance. There is
Mm,
no need to rush it.
yeah, yeah.
And that way you can submit for playlisting, you can do proper promotional activities. People don't even care about any of
Care
that.
about
They're like, oh, my music's coming out tomorrow, put me on a playlist. I'm like,
it.
dude.
Doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
So
but
just
I mean, I'm just curious about the playlisting bit. Like, is there like a actual formal procedure for it via City Baby?
so for Spotify,
Yeah.
artists can actually claim their Spotify for artist page,
Mm.
their YouTube Music for artist page, their Amazon Music artist page.
Oh,
Amazon
cool.
Music artist page is only available for CD Baby artists at the moment.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So once you claim all of that, you can kind of tweak your profiles, all of that.
Mm.
Now for Spotify playlisting, an artist can pitch it themselves from their artist app,
Mm.
which
Okay.
most don't realize. But again, you should pitch it minimum 2 weeks earlier.
2 weeks
You
before
know?
the release date, you said?
Yes, at least,
Oh, okay.
because they need that long. They only update their playlist once a week.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if your song is coming out on a date which is, not coinciding with when they upload, then it might be too late.
Yeah.
Plus, it's very hard to get on playlists after your release is done.
Right.
Very rarely, unless you're a known artist and it's one of those throwback kind of playlists or whatever,
Mm.
it's not always easy to get picked up for
Picked up,
playlist,
yeah.
right? There is no guarantee. But what I also do as CD Baby India is that if artists reach out to me like 3 weeks in advance before the release, I will give them a form they can fill up, and I, from my end, can also pitch to Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, Savan. Whether they get picked up, it's up to the platform. There are no guarantees. I can also do that. But again, everything has to happen in advance. I don't pitch every single day. I pitch once a week, So if they reach out in time, hence everything has to be planned in advance.
Okay, this is great information, by the way, Ritnika. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
When you mentioned Savan, I just remembered. Is there a reason why Ghana is not with CD Baby?
We're working on it. So basically,
Thank God.
Ghana, Hangama, Ghana, Wink, they're very India centric. I know there are certain other countries as well, but it is mainly consumed by India.
Indians, yeah.
So on a global level, it wasn't the first thing you would sign up with, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But now, because we're focusing more on developing the Indian market, we just got Hangama on board. Now, of course, TikTok has come on globally.
Cool.
And now we're working on Ghana and Wink. So it is in the process. So it's not like we don't want it. We 100% want to be there. We want to be everywhere, wherever Indian music can be
Yeah,
heard.
can be heard. Yeah.
But it does take time, understand, it's a process. So our head offices are in talks and hopefully soon.
Yay. Okay, that's great news. I mean,
Yeah.
because I know a lot of people who have gone through City Baby and have not had access to Ghana, but they've gone
Exactly.
through something else, and they just
I know. No, I completely understand.
Yeah.
And this is a very top priority for us. And it is something that we have been working on.
Yeah.
It's just, with the COVID situation, things
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
slowing
yeah.
down,
Obviously, yeah.
Maybe if we hadn't had this, maybe we would have already been there. Who knows,
I
It's
know.
not, even if I wanted to go and meet up and start converse, it's not even something I can, it's just tough right now.
Understand, yeah.
Yeah.
So, now given all this amazing experience, this vast, knowledge of the industry that you have and your experiences abroad, what would be your advice to musicians and people who want to get into the music business?
As a whole?
Yeah. In general, you can split it into two, because I'm sure it's different
for musicians. I feel if you, as a musician, I would like to say that you don't have to go for management. Like, I think the first, I'm going to put it better. Basically, what the thing is, whenever an artist, a person becomes a musician, the first thought is, I need a manager. Right? And I always tell them, why do you need a manager?
Yeah.
Oh, I need gigs. I'm like, so only a manager can get you gigs. That's not what a manager does, firstly. Secondly, why can't you get yourself gigs? Right? So I feel like artists really need to start realizing that they need to know the business of things.
Yeah, and they need to be able to sell themselves too.
Exactly. Right? And if you get a manager when you're really small, firstly, you're not making enough money, and the manager will only make 15% of very little money. That means they're not going to be motivated to do a lot. Plus, unless they really, really love your music, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you are at such a small level, you may not get picked up by the bigger management companies, the ones which are more professional, the ones that do have the kind of contacts that you need.
Yeah.
Right? The whole point of being with a manager is that they can get you to places that you yourself can't go.
Correct.
But unless you have tried to get to a certain level, so you can attract those kind of managers, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So it's important for artists to learn the business side of things. However you do it, it's very important to learn the business side of things. And I feel for managers, it's the same thing. Learn the business side of things.
Yeah.
But I feel like as managers also, like, learn from the good managers out there, understand what all they do for their artists. It is not just gigs.
It's not just
so much more. Like, when I was managing, I was their mother, their doctor, their everything. You know what I mean? Like, anytime they had a problem, whether it was personal, whether it was money, whether it was business, whether it was fashion, whether it was, like, whatever. I would be the person that would get the call,
Yeah.
It's only now I can put my phone on silent on weekends or late night. At that time, I couldn't, because what if there's an emergency and I'm the person they would call?
Yeah. Because like we were talking about earlier, it's not like you're managing a product, you're managing a person. So there's all these personal implications and emotions, all of that are involved. It's not just about their music, it's about who they are also as people.
Exactly. And if you're just a booking agent, then it may not be so much, then it's a bit more like, okay, I'll get you a gig, we're done, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you want to be a manager, it's, you see pictures of big bands, bigger artists with their managers. It's like their brothers, their family, their sisters, how it is. Like, it's, it's that matters. Because contracts at the end, I don't believe I've had contracts with artists.
Yeah.
Are valid, but if the personal relationship is short, the contracts mean nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's the most important thing.
I know. But man, I think we could probably keep talking, because you have so much to like share, all your experiences. And I'm so curious to know more about how you toured with GNR and some anecdotes from that.
God, that was such a blast. I think for me, I can give you one thing from that tour.
Please do.
People thought it was like, oh my God, it's so cool, you got to hang out with Axel, and for me, I think the best part was having a heart-to-heart with Del James.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so Del James, as has been original tour manager and
Yeah.
been involved, in some writing of some songs, all of
Mm,
that.
mm,
So we had some issues with GNR store in India, not through me, but through our head office and whatever.
mm.
But I remember him taking me aside and him and I talking about how, uh, I think this made my life, I'm going to say, because he just
Mm.
said something like, a lot of people don't understand, because, a lot of these companies, the corporate companies who get
Yeah.
artists down, right? So
Yeah.
they're like, these people don't understand how to treat an artist.
Yeah.
And there is a way and this is not about pandering to them. It's not about, oh, you're a god or anything like
Yeah.
that. It's just how you deal with them.
Yeah.
And he's like, you get it.
Mm.
And he's like, and this is something I want to tell you, that what you understand how to deal with
Deal with
someone
an
like an Axel or whatever.
Yeah.
And and we had a great heart to heart about just the industry and how things are going. And then he left a bit early after the last gig because he
Mm.
had to catch an early flight. So he
Okay.
gave me a hug, and his last words to me were, "Take care of Axel."
Oh,
And I was like, "Yeah, you
so
got it."
cool. Yeah, I know. But how is Axel to deal with,
He is what he is.
Okay.
He,
It's
you know
like,
what? Let me just tell you
let's
something.
just leave that hanging.
Let's put it this way: despite the fact that he's an old man who's no longer as hot as he used to be, he
Oh,
still gets the women. Let's just put it that way.
okay. This is a conversation for a private evening.
No, but he's you know what? The show was brilliant.
Yeah.
Come what may, all the songs. I mean,
Yeah.
it was brilliant. I know they did three shows across the country. It was
Mm.
on time and ended at 10 o'clock. And they're not used to sticking to a timeline.
Yeah.
They don't always start shows on time. And this is another thing that I was told. You're so lucky he's actually starting and ending on time. Because
Yeah.
India has a 10 o'clock curfew. Most places don't.
Yeah.
So it was a great experience. I mean, I'm so blessed to have gone through that.
I know. And I think it's great I'm sure you're sharing all of this even with the courses that you have.
Mhm.
It's all this information that you've accumulated over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I like to teach from personal experiences and personal anecdotes, which is why my class is always closed, because I don't want anybody here half the crap I say.
So, but you know what? Tell me a little more about the kind of courses that MGMH has, and because there's people who are listening to this who want to sign up. It'll be great.
Yeah, I mean, so basically, our main flagship course, which is in association with Sri Aurobindo Center, which is SACAC, basically, is a certification course on music business. This is the third batch. This time it is digital, starting in July 2020. And because it's digital, anybody from across the country can join.
Perfect.
It's a 2-month course. It is taught only on the weekends.
Okay.
And this is how I structured it, because I understand that some people have college, some people have day jobs, some people have gigs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why and I usually try to avoid gig season when I do the course. But it's on the weekends. It's 3 hours each day, 2 months. We go through every module, from artist management, bookings, digital distribution, labels, publishing, marketing, live, everything.
Wow.
We have guest speakers, we've had people like Atul Churamani, we've had Mo Joshi from Azadi Records, we've got Sarah coming in from Magnetic Fields, we have Keshav Dhar coming in from Sky Harbor. We have different people coming and talking about their life and advice to the students. The students can ask them questions and interact with them. And if possible, I don't know about now in the post-COVID or in COVID world, but we try to also help with internship placements and things like that.
Okay.
So the idea is that, you get a full crash course of what it's like to be in the music industry.
That's great, because I don't think there's anybody else who offers something like this.
Not at the moment.
Yeah. So this is like a definite sell, So there are a lot of people who are interested.
I hope, hey man, join up, and because it's digital, it's cheaper than the in-person.
I know. Oh yeah, great. Could maybe even
also because you don't have to travel. Because like the last 2 batches, we've had people from outside Delhi come in, but so they had to travel to Delhi, live here for 2 months,
okay.
All of that. Now it's digital. You just need a computer, and that's it.
Perfect. So anyway, so thank you so much, Ritnika. I mean, I think we can probably continue this conversation a lot longer than this, but and perhaps plan another session with you. Maybe something more on the lines of what CD Baby does, and the kind of opportunities that musicians can leverage through CD Baby. I think maybe that will be interesting because a lot of people are not fully aware of what they can do with the platform. I think that'll be great.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and I'll be more than happy to do any of that.
And I'm sure there'll be people who might want to get in touch with you. So I will have Ritnika's email ID.
Yes, you can give my CD Baby
Yeah,
ID to
definitely.
people. They're more than happy to reach out. My only advice would be that, hey, if it's a question about how to start on CD Baby and things like that, I encourage you to first try to learn yourself.
Yeah.
But of course, if there's something that you can't understand or whatever, I am always happy to help. Email is preferred. WhatsApp in the middle of the night is definitely not preferred.
No numbers being shared.
No,
that's just for me.
Yeah, that's the reason I started putting my phone on silent, because 2:00 in the morning, artists are messaging me. I'm like, guys, come on, man.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you once again. Thank you so much for taking time out.
Thank you for having me. It was amazing. Thank you so much. And good luck. I mean, what you're doing is absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
Podcasts are definitely the way to go. And hey, I'm going to give you some competition very soon.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Anyway, so that's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys soon.